Jupiter is going into Gemini on Saturday, May 25th, and it is going to remain there until June 9, 2025. Now, it has been 12 years since Jupiter's been in Gemini, so I thought we would take a couple of minutes, or 1 minute, and talk about what this means. While Jupiter is in Gemini, you are likely going to become more social. You may look around at your everyday world and say, I want to expand something. I want more connections. I want to know more about my neighborhood, my community. While Jupiter is in Gemini, you're likely to embrace change. Gemini is about looking at different options and even toggling back and forth between multiple options. While Jupiter is in Gemini, you may have a more carefree attitude. You may feel like, that you have the time to go make these connections, to go do some travel, to study something, to pick up new skills. This is often the time where I see a lot of people asking me if they should go back to school or if they should focus their studies on something in particular. And while we see a Sagittarius actually ruling long distance travel, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Gemini is about short distance travel, so basically this is just more travel. So you might travel to the next county, you might travel to the next state, but you could travel all the way around the world. So Gemini is the first of the social signs, and that means that we are moving away from just that relationship with parents to expand our world. And so that's why we associate that next tier of connections with Gemini, and that would be siblings, cousins, but also neighbors, people in the community, and eventually, those that we work with, but those in our group. One of the most important things that happens with Jupiter in Gemini, and remember, we haven't had this for 12 years, is that we become very aware of unconscious behaviors and unconscious thoughts. And that is that suddenly we are aware of the things that we weren't questioning before. These could be limiting beliefs, these could be old thinking patterns, these could be the beliefs that we didn't even think to question. And suddenly we are aware of them and deciding whether they now work in our world. Now, of course, Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion, can go overboard. So in all of the things I mentioned, you may be very interested in, like getting some new connections and then suddenly feel like that's all you want to do. Or you might want to learn a new skill and then suddenly you want to learn 3 new skills or a dozen new skills. So this is where the pendulum can swing really, really far. And then over the course of that Jupiter and Gemini energy, well, it doesn't really, because Jupiter is so much about going overboard anyway. Sometimes that pendulum doesn't swing back. And so think in terms of moderation, because Jupiter's going to push you anyway. So if it's the case that you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go back to school, look at how you can do it in a more balanced fashion versus I'm going to give up everything and study 24 hours a day. Also, because of that ability for Jupiter to go overboard, you may adopt new beliefs and new ideas, but then maybe take those to an extreme. Or as you expand your world, you may find people with extreme views. And so collecting information and then deciding what you resonate with and what you believe and testing the information that you receive to see if it's really true. That is all quite important with Jupiter in Gemini. I was just rereading the book Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke, and she talks about this, the concept that we think that what we do is we come across new information, that we vet that information, and then we decide whether it's true or not. But she says that studies show that what we actually do is we come across new information, we believe it to be true, and then over time we may discover that it wasn't true. So Jupiter loves the truth and Gemini loves information. And so be aware that while Jupiter is in Gemini, you may jump in and grab something thinking it's the truth without remembering to vet it. So with that warning aside, Jupiter in Gemini is great. It's a good position for Jupiter to be in because it expands our thinking, it expands our world. And so as you're out there making new connections and being in your neighborhood and in your community, think in terms of Jupiter, and that is connecting, communicating, and experiencing new things. And that's it. Of course, we'll be talking about Jupiter in future videos. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you like content like this, like the video, and I will see you in the next video.